For today, we're going to be focusing on dancer's pose and our quad muscles. So when we're ready, we'll find any type of easy seat and we'll take a moment to settle into it. If it's comfortable, we'll let our eyes close or at least let the eyelids get a little heavy. And if we can, we'll take a moment just to take stock. So as always, we want to remember that taking stock in how we're feeling right now is different than judging ourselves for how we're feeling right now. We can notice how things feel, even if those emotions are quite charged or against expectations, but we don't judge ourselves for them. We might even remind ourselves that our home practice might be a little more difficult than we're used to, even if we used to practice at home. So we might even take a moment to be lenient with ourselves, to provide that grace towards ourselves. If we're a little more distracted, a little more easily agitated or impatient, give yourself that grace. And again, one of our prevailing themes right now in our practice is to make sure that we are recognizing that our body and our minds are trying their best to help us out. And then as we're doing that check-in, perhaps we take some time to focus on our breath. Now, mindful, this is always our time and our time alone. It could be as simple as taking a breath in and a nice slow breath out. And maybe that's all we need, just that chance to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe we're noticing the sound of that breath, noticing the sound of our inhale, and noticing the sound of our exhale. We don't have to do anything different. Today might be a day that we're practicing our victorious breath, or in Sanskrit, our Ujjayi breath. So we can think of this as a slight constriction in the back of our throat, like if we were fogging up a mirror or whispering, but the mouth will stay closed if the sinuses allow that. And we just make this nice, almost ocean wave sound on the breath in and on the breath out. This is sometimes known as the Darth Vader breath as well. Whatever we need to help connect to that type of breathing. So again, just a slight constriction. We should still feel like we can breathe deeply. We find that breath in. We find that breath out. And we just repeat this now. So noticing how it feels to constrict the back of the throat a little bit. It's okay if that takes effort. It's okay if it feels different or feels funny. We can remind ourselves that sometimes our yoga practice will make us feel funny or silly or out of place. That's okay. Try these new things. Be present in that silliness. Be present in that effort. Just notice how it feels as you breathe in. As you breathe out. We can remind ourselves that it's not about making the breath as loud as possible. We just want to make it a little more audible, something we can listen to and something we can feel as we are breathing. And we'll give ourselves a few extra breaths here. And we can remind ourselves that this Ujjayi breath we can do throughout our entire practice. In fact, some styles of yoga actually encourage this type of breathing from the moment we sit down until the moment we lay down for Shavasana. So we'll just give ourselves a few more moments here. And when we are ready, we'll let our hands come together at the heart. Pausing here for a moment if that's possible. We'll set that positive intention, and maybe with today's intention, we try to reframe it as an affirmation. So some type of positive mantra. So if our intention is peace or strength or patience, we're reframing it. I have patience. I am strength. Or whatever type of wording we like. It doesn't have to be an I am or an I have statement. And then when we are ready, we'll take in the inhale that feels good. The exhale could rest our hands against our legs. Now always mindful the eyes could stay closed for as long as we need. And maybe we find our seated cat-cow movements. So we could always start by shrugging the shoulders back, and we'll let our chest lift up to the ceiling. And eventually we'll shrug our shoulders forward and let the upper back lift up to the ceiling. And now we'll just repeat this. We can shrug back and lift up. We can shrug forward and lift up. Now, as we're doing this the entire time, we're going to press that belly towards the spine, making sure this movement is only happening through the chest and the upper back. We can add in that breath, and we can always play around with that challenge of finding inhales while the belly is still pressing in. We're just going to wind down from this if we can. Nice and slow. We're going to end on whatever it is we want to end on, whether today's an extra back bend kind of day or an extra back stretch kind of day. Make it your own. Once we're ready, we'll come back towards center. And if it feels good, we'll inhale our arms up and overhead. And on an exhale, we'll twist towards the right. We'll let our hands come down for a moment. Just giving ourselves a moment with any type of twist we need. If we would like, we could take that right hand and start to reach it out towards the wall behind us. It's okay if it's not reaching completely behind us. We'll try our best to let our thumb face up as if we're about to shake somebody's hand. Again, just make that time your own. If you're finding an uncomfortable sensation in your shoulders, perhaps ease back. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Now, if we are ready, one more full breath. And we'll come back to center. Now we'll try it on the other side. We'll inhale our arms all the way up. We'll exhale and twist towards our left side, pausing for a moment as the hands come down. Now if it feels good, we'll take that left arm, we'll reach it behind us towards the back of the wall, but we don't want to try to have that be our goal. It's okay if we're pointing more towards more or less maybe a 7 o'clock as opposed to 6 o'clock. Again, we're going to try our best to let our thumb face up as if we want to shake someone's hand. Nothing necessarily wrong with other positions, but this helps get at a certain muscle in our shoulders. So that's what we're trying to focus on. Deep breath in if we can. Deep breath out. One more full breath. Now we'll come back to center and maybe we shrug our shoulders out a little bit if that feels good. Now, if we would like, we're going to reach our arms or bring our arms behind us. Now, we can keep them close to the body. We could walk them out. Now, we might stay here. We can press our belly to the spine and lift out through the chest. And this might be where we stay. If we have the space for it, we're going to think soft elbows. We'll put a little more weight into our left hand and we'll let our right arm start to reach up towards the ceiling. Now, if we have space, we can reach up and behind, press through the belly, a little lift through the chest. If this doesn't work for our shoulders, we skip it. Deep breath in if we can. Deep breath out. Mindfully, we'll bring that arm down. It might mean taking weight out of our hands for a moment so we can comfortably bring everything back. Now, if we can, with soft elbows, we come over towards that right side. Press through the belly. Keep that core stable. We'll reach our opposite arm up towards the ceiling or up and back, little lift in the chest if we can. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Now if we can, nice and mindful, that might mean a little bit of coming up, a little less weight on the hands as we bring both arms down. One last time, a little lift through the chest, a little extra back bend. And then we can come back to center. We'll bring our bodies back to center and we'll come into our tabletop position. We might like to roll over the shins, swing the legs around. You make that time your own. We'll do some cat-cows from table. So if we can, we'll drop the belly down. We'll take that breath in. And we can round our back, perhaps with that breath out. Again, we can repeat this movement as we would like. So as we're ready, just moving with the breath. Maybe inhales for one pose, exhales for the other. Now, as we are doing this, I want you to pay close attention to what the tailbone and what the pelvic bones are doing. So again, we can think about how our pelvis essentially tilts behind us and the tail tucks under as we round the back. And then the pelvis tilts forward and the tailbone lifts up as the belly drops. We're going to be playing with that a little bit throughout practice today. Now we're going to start to wind down from this nice and slow. We're going to end on whatever it is we want to end on today. And we'll come back to center, back towards that table. We can take a moment. We might need to shake out the wrists a little bit. Maybe we need a little wrist stretch. That top of the hand, finding the mat one hand at a time. Some people even like to bring the fingers in a little bit and do a stretch that way. But again, make sure that you can control how much weight you're putting in your hand. Now, if we can, we're going to press our belly towards the spine. We might even do a very light cat pose, like a micro cat, kitten pose, if you will. And with that, we'll take our left knee, and we'll start to lift our left knee up. Now, only as high as we can get it while still maintaining that belly press in light cat pose. We don't want to go into a back bend just to get the knee up higher. Deep breath in if we can. Deep breath out. We'll bring that down. We'll try it to the other side. Again, we want to think we're really crunching in the belly. We're thinking little rounding in the back. We're going to lift up that opposite knee, still pressing through the belly, still rounding the spine. If you're like me, you're noticing your knee's not lifting up a lot. That's okay. We are focusing on what this feels like, not what it looks like. Deep breath in if we can. Deep breath out. And then as we're ready, we'll bring that down. Again, if we need a moment, shake the wrists out, or maybe shaking the wrists is not really good for us. Maybe some light rolls of the wrist. Again, make that time your own. We'll find our way into our child's pose. When we're ready, we can shift back and maybe back and down, taking a few moments here in whatever child's pose works for us. So again, today might be a day that we like enclosed child's pose. Maybe the hands are by our sides or on our back. Make this time what you need it to be. And we're going to try our best to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe we come back to that Ujjayi breath from before. How does it feel to do Ujjayi breath from child's pose with that constricted breath in and out? Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into our into our down dog. We can extend the arms out if we had brought them in. We'll come up, readjust everything. We curl the toes as we shift back and up, and we just give ourselves a moment here. Sometimes at first down dog, we come into it and our calf muscles start singing at us. Maybe we're feeling it in the hamstrings too, and we can just give ourselves a moment with that. Again, we can remind ourselves that challenging sensations are not necessarily bad sensations. We're trying our best to notice areas that might give us constructive discomfort and ease away from areas that are bringing us actual pain. So again, maybe we're taking a little extra time to pedal out those heels today. Now, if we would like, we can add in that Vinyasa flow of our choosing, and maybe that looks like rolling into plank. Again, knees up or knees down, make this time your own. As we lower, we can lower less than halfway, or all the way. If we're ready, we can find our back bend, whatever type of back bend feels good here. And then we're coming back up towards our downward facing dog or the resting pose of our choosing. We're pressing through the belly. We might even try to think, I go from back bend to almost like a cat pose. Maybe I come to table and then curl my toes. Maybe I roll onto the tops of my feet and come up and back. It's really whatever we need here. Whatever we found, we're going to try our best to breathe in and then breathe out. Maybe we try out Ujjayi breath from a downward facing dog. And then when we're ready, we'll find our way into our forward fold. So maybe it feels good to walk our feet in or walk the hands towards the feet. As always, you make that transition your own. And then I invite you to just do what you need. Does it feel good to shake out the head? Does it feel good to move side to side? What do we want to do here? Maybe another little head shake. Another head nod. Maybe one more breath in. And one more breath out. Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into our standing position. So we want to think soft knees and a press through the feet, maybe even a little press through the belly to protect our low back as we come up. Arms can reach, and eventually hands can find the heart. Now we can pause here if that feels good. We'll take that moment to breathe in. We'll take that moment to breathe out. Now, if we'd like, we'll find that first chair pose. I'm going to try our best to let our toes point straight ahead. Now, hips width or feet together, it's really up to us, but as we shift back and down, I really want you to think the hips are trying to travel towards the back of the room, but we're going to press that belly in if we can. Really activate through the core. Let that tailbone get heavy if we can. Again, we make this our own. Now, some people really like to put weight into the heels. That helps the glute muscles work harder. Some people like to press through the three corners of their feet, one on either side of the ball of the foot, one on the heel. That might help activate through the arches. Some like to play with a little weight into the toes, or even come up onto our toes. Maybe that strengthens their ankles. Again, none of these are right or wrong universally, just about what they bring to the table and if it's something we need. Full breath in, full breath out, and strong glute muscles if we can. That actually is going to help out one of our biggest quad muscles when we eventually stretch them. Full breath in, full breath out. One more breath. And then we'll find our forward fold so we can readjust. We'll come down and we do what we need here. So maybe we just want to hang heavy. Maybe it feels good to have a hand on the opposite elbow. Maybe we like to sway a little bit. Maybe it's a side to side sway. Maybe it's through the hips or only through the torso. Maybe we even like to put a little weight into the front of our feet, a little weight towards the back. What do we want to do here today? So we try our best to breathe in. And we try our best to breathe out. Now, when we are ready, we'll find the flow of our choosing. So that could mean halfway lifts. We could exhale to plant the hands. Maybe we like to step back. Again, make that time your own. So maybe we're coming into plank. Now again, it could be less than halfway, but if we start really dipping down, I invite you to come all the way to the ground and then find the back bend that you need. And again, we want to think I'm pressing my belly to the spine, almost coming into that kitten pose, maybe to table, maybe to pointed plank. And then maybe I'm up and back into the resting pose of my choosing. Now, what we'll do next is essentially an unopened three-legged dog. So a three-legged dog, but the hips are going to stay squared towards the ground. If we'd like, we might start on our left side. So we lift up our left leg, keeping the hips square if we can. And then we'll just bend the knee and notice how that feels. If we would like, we're going to add in a little core work from here. We can bring our knee into the chest, and as we do so, we might come towards plank. Maybe we add in a little cat pose here, strengthen those rib cage muscle areas. And then as we're ready, we unwind back to our down dog. Lift the knee up, maybe the knee stayed bent. Now when we're ready, we'll do knee to chest, nice and slow. We're going to round through the back. And then nice and slow, we unwind. Maybe that knee stayed bent. One more time in full, so we can bring the knee in, a little rounding of the back. And then as we're ready, we'll come back. Now if we're ready, we'll find our high lunge. So we could always do knee to chest, foot towards the right hand, or the left hand, I should say. We'll come up, we'll readjust. And if we're ready, arms can reach. Now we'll take a moment with this if we can. Notice how it feels to breathe in. Notice how it feels to breathe out. Pressing the belly to the spine if we can. Now, if we would like, we'll play with a few of our fists of fury. Now, we can remind ourselves we don't have to add in the knee. In the first one, we won't add in the knee. We can take a deep inhale. On the exhale, we'll bring our fists in towards our waist. Press through that belly, though, like that kitten pose almost. And then as we're ready, we'll come back. Now, if we'd like, we can bring the fists in, press through the belly, but also bend that back knee. And then the front or back knee can straighten and we come back, high lunge. So we can do this 3 more times. So we're gonna exhale as we find fists of fury. As we come back up, on that exhale, we could lower down again. And inhale up. One more time. It's okay if those legs are getting tired. One more time. We'll come back to our high lunge. And if we're ready, we'll find our way into our knees down runner's lunge. So we might soften that front back knee first. We'll bring our arms down. We'll let the back knee come down. This is a great place for props. Maybe it feels good to take those blocks and rearrange them. Maybe we need to rearrange the back knee. Maybe we need a blanket or a towel underneath that back knee. We're just going to give this a moment if we can. We're going to take that moment to breathe in and breathe out. Now, if we can, we're coming into low lunge. I'm going to press through that top foot. Maybe even let those hips shift back a little bit, and we start to rise up. Now we might keep our hands low for a moment, but I want you to play around with pressing that belly in. Little mini cat here, that kitten pose. So we're not really rounding out through the low back, but we are doing a very micro crunch. Just notice how that feels. We can also think about our tailbone doing that light tucking under, the hips and that light tilting back. It's very, very subtle, but maybe we're really feeling it in that quad muscle. Just notice how it feels. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Now, if we want to add in the arms, we can, but making sure that adding in the arms does not mean we lose all of this. It is very easy in this pose to essentially let the back do the work for us and make the pose look pretty, but we lose that quad muscle focus. Some people, we find the tailbone tilts in the opposite direction. Also, we've got this really intense back bend going on. Looks pretty, but we completely lost our focus on the quad muscle area. So again, it's not about what it looks like, it's about what it feels like. We're gonna give it one more breath if we can. And then we'll come down and we're gonna find our way into the flow of our choosing, and it might be readjusting our blocks. We can come up, maybe up and back, and maybe we just wanna hang out in down dog for a little bit. Now we are welcome to add in the Vinyasa flow of our choosing. Checking in though, we did a lot of work on that right quad muscle area. That might mean what we do is come to table and then maybe child's pose. We just don't wanna put too much work on the core muscle that also gets stretched along with our quad muscles. That muscle is also in charge of getting the hips up and back from up dog. So we don't want to overload it. So whatever we found, we'll try our best to breathe in and try our best to breathe out. Now if we are ready, we're going to try it on the other side. So we can meet back in that downward facing dog if we weren't there already. Now we're lifting up our opposite leg. So maybe it feels good to bend that back knee, maybe not. Now once we are ready, we're going to bring the knee into the chest as we come to our plank pose, a little round of the back if we can. Now maybe we keep that left knee bent as it lifts up. Now if we're ready, we'll bring that knee in, maybe a little rounding of the back. And as we're ready, maybe that right knee, right, not left, we'll bring up. And as we're ready, we'll do that one more time. Knee can come into the chest. As we're ready, we'll let that right knee lift up again. Now, if we're ready, we'll find our way into that high lunge. So we can do our knee to chest, foot towards that right hand. We'll slowly come up. Maybe arms reach up. Activating through the core, so that same type of back bend to make the pose look pretty can happen here, where we feel our tailbone kind of tilts forward, we do this kind of extended back bend. Looks pretty, but we're really not focusing on our hips anymore. So again, we're going to try our best to think, press the belly in, heavy tailbone. Now maybe we find fists of fury. Now if we're ready, on an exhale, we'll bring the fists in, we'll press the belly in, let that little micro cat pose, micro crunch, and then we'll come back. Now maybe we add in the legs, so we're going to bring the fists in, activate through the core, bend that back knee, and then we'll come back 3 more times if we can. So on that exhale, we'll bring the fists in, inhale, we'll come up, exhaling as we bring in, inhaling to extend. One last time, bring the fists in, bring ourselves up, pausing if we can. And now we'll find our way into our knees down, runner's lunge, so we can let that back knee soften. Hands can find their blocks, props, the floor. Let the back knee come down. And again, we're just pausing for a few extra breaths in this pose. Now, if we are ready, we're going to press through that front foot, maybe let the hip shift back a little bit. And we're going to start to lift ourselves up. And again, we can keep the arms down for a moment. Again, we're going to try our best to think, press through the belly, little baby crunch. We're also thinking tailbone did that light tucking under, but we really want to think it's the core muscles that got that tailbone to tuck under, not something happening in the back. Now, if we want, we can bring the arms up. So it's okay if this isn't as pretty, quote unquote, as the version that has our hips tilt in the opposite direction and we get that really pretty back bend. Nothing is necessarily wrong with that variation, but this one helps us focus on the quad muscles. So we're going to try our best to breathe in. And try our best to breathe out. One more breath. Now if we're ready, we'll come down. We're going to find the flow of our choosing. Again, notice what we personally need. We really just stretched out those left quad muscles. Maybe what we need is just to come to table and do some cat-cows. If we want to do a conventional flow, maybe we just come to child's pose. That's the wonderful thing about all these vinyasa flows. We really get a moment to go, how did that last sequence affect me? And what movement will be best for me right now? So whatever we find, we are eventually trying our best to give ourselves at least a little time in something resting. Now we're trying our best to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe 3 more breaths. Now, if we are ready, we'll find our way into our forward fold again. So however we want to get there, again, if we're practicing a hop towards the top of our mat, we really want to think hips lift, Feet go where they're gonna go. If you try to think feet to the hands, there's a really good chance you'll accidentally snag your toes against the mat. We don't want that. So we're gonna think press through the hands, lifting up through the hips, seeing how much of this can happen through the core and not through the legs. As we lift up, feet go where they're gonna go. We walk the rest of the way if we need to walk the rest of the way. We find a halfway lift, strong back. On the exhale, we'll lower. On our inhale, we'll come all the way up. Those arms can reach. On the exhale, our hands will find our heart. And we'll pause. And can we notice our heartbeat for a moment? We've been doing a lot of work today, a lot of physical work, maybe some intense stretches, if intense stretches were working for us today. How is the body reacting? How is the mind reacting? We might even remind ourselves that there is a misconception that yoga is supposed to make us happy, yoga is supposed to make us peaceful, and when that doesn't happen, then we must be doing yoga wrong. And nothing could be further from the truth. So again, we're just going to give ourselves a moment with that. Just notice how the body feels, notice where the mind is at. And then if we are ready, we'll find our way into dancer's pose. So again, we're talking about a balancing pose, so we might opt for the mat. We might opt to come off our mat. We might opt to get closer to a wall. Again, there's a lot more going on than just the balance, and maybe we want to focus on those aspects. If we are ready, we'll put a little more weight into our left side. And we do want to practice soft knees. Notice if you tend to lock the knees out, and just put a little bend into them. Now we'll put weight into that left leg as we bend the right. Now we can take that right hand, and it's welcome to stay on the outside of the foot, but we might pivot around and let it find the inside of the foot with the thumb facing out. So it almost looks like we're about to shake hands with the floor if our fingers were straight. Again, either version is fine. This version gives us a nice little shoulder stretch. Now we might do the version that focuses entirely on our quads. We're gonna press through the belly. We're gonna see if we can get our knees side to side. I know mine tends to shift forward. And then we might press the hips just a little more forward. Ooh, I feel that one. Now, if we prefer a more conventional dancer's pose, we are welcome to kick through the foot. We're welcome to keep our torso upright. We're also welcome to tilt forward. There are countless ways to do this pose. We might keep the hips super, super square, keep that knee or that foot tucked in. We're also welcome to extend out. Maybe it almost looks like a standing split, maybe not. Full breath in, whatever version we found. Full breath out. And as mindfully as we can, we come back. And we'll take a moment if we can. Just notice left leg, notice right leg. It's okay if right leg is telling us some things, left leg's telling us some things. They might be telling us completely different things, and rightfully so. Left leg just held all that weight. Right leg got maybe a quad stretch. Just notice. And then maybe we shake them out. Now we're trying this on the other side when we're ready. So soft knees if we can. Weight's now in our right leg. That left knee can bend. And again, as that left hand finds the left foot, maybe the thumb is facing down and it's on the outside of the foot. Maybe it pivots around and it's on the inside with the thumb facing upwards as if we're about to shake hands with the floor if the fingers were straight. Now again, we might think knees are side by side, pressing the belly in, maybe even that light cat crunch, and then we press the hips forward. And that's what we need. That's the quad stretch of our choosing. Now, if we prefer to come into our dancer's pose instead, we can kick through the foot. Now we're welcome to stay upright. We're also welcome to tilt forward. Likewise, we might keep the knee quite bent. We might let that leg lift up. And again, make this our own. We might find that we want to hold on to a wall as we do this. We might find we don't want to do that. What version do we want to do today? Full breath in, whatever we're finding. Full breath out. One more breath, whatever it is we found. And as we're ready, we slowly come might shake everything out. And if we would like, we're gonna find our way into our mountain pose. So we can let our palms rotate forward or away. We might close our eyes. And can we take that moment? Notice the heartbeat. Notice both legs now. And again, if anything, we can take this time on our mat to really notice how our body does its best with what it has to help us out. We can take that moment to give it some gratitude. Maybe we even just say thank you to it in our minds, even if that feels a little hokey at first. Now we'll eventually find our way into our forward fold. We might make sure we're relatively close to the front of our mat because we will be returning back to our runner's lunges again. We can inhale our arms up and overhead, and we can exhale into the forward fold of our choosing. We might just pause here for a moment. Now if we're ready, we'll find our way into our runner's lunge. Now maybe we want to start on our left side again, where we put a little weight into the left leg, and we send our right leg back, and we'll bring the back knee down. Now we might stay here. And in fact, a great quad stretch is to return to what we did previously, where we come up, we do a little crunch through the belly. Maybe that's what we need. If we would like to play with a bind to get us into a different type of quad stretch, we are welcome to either keep the hands low or bring our hands up. Make sure to press through that front foot though to keep the hips supported. Now if you're like me, you like to curl the toes, readjust the back knee a little bit and bend through the back knee. Now we are welcome to reach back, same deal. We might have the thumb facing down or we might rotate out. Now it could be same hand to foot. We might do opposite hand to foot, which gives us a little bit of a twist. Now likewise, we might stay upright, we might lower down. I want you to figure out the version you need, and once we come into the version we want to come into, I will mention the different things that those different variations do. So when we lower down, we're focusing entirely on our quad muscles, and perhaps quite intensely. But we stopped focusing on our hip flexor, that core muscle that helps us come up and back into our, from up down into down dog, known as our psoas. Now if we're upright, we might be focusing a little less on the quad muscles, but we're also now stretching that psoas. And likewise, sometimes a twist feels really good, but it constricts us in space. Sometimes what we need is that more open type of quad stretch. Again, none of these are better or worse. They're just bringing different things to the table. And hopefully through that explanation, we didn't notice that we've been holding this stretch for a little bit, or maybe we have. When we're ready, whatever version we found, we'll let go, we'll come down. If you're like me, you like to do a little readjust of the back knee. So maybe we come into a half split for a moment, just let our hips travel back. Maybe we walk our hands with us, maybe we don't. This is also a great place for something elevated. Another option is maybe a chair to hold on to, or a chair on either side, shelves. Make this time your own. Maybe it feels good to flex the foot up, but we don't have to. We're just going to try our best to breathe in and breathe out. Now if we're ready, we'll come back to our runner's lunge one last time, and we'll step that back leg in. So we'll lift up the back knee, press through that front foot to help bring that foot in. Maybe we take a moment with a bent knee, forward fold. Maybe we do a little movement. Now we'll try it on the other side. Weight is now in that our opposite foot, that right foot, as we step our left foot back, and maybe that back knee comes down. Now again, make this time your own. Maybe you liked that low lunge with the little kitten crunch. Now if we prefer, we might stay low, we might be high up, make it your own. Maybe it feels good to readjust the back knee. We could bend the back knee. We don't even have to reach back. Or maybe it's same hand to foot. Maybe it's opposite hand to foot. Maybe we're high up. Maybe we're on a prop. Maybe a lower prop. Maybe we're all the way down. And for this one, I won't do any type of explanation. And we'll just take a moment moment and notice how this feels. So we're going to give this a couple more breaths. And we give this 3 more. So whatever version we found, we come out of it, we come down, we're eventually finding one more forward fold so the back knee can come up, press through that front foot to help bring that back leg in. That's whatever type of forward fold we need here. Now actually, we'll make sure to step back with that same leg and we'll bring that back knee down. We're going to find our half split. So we're going to take a moment here. We can shift ourselves back. My apologies for skipping out on what is some people's favorite and some people's less than favorite pose. So again, finding whatever version of the half split that feels good for us today. Now, if we're ready, we'll come back. Now we'll find our forward fold. So we can come up, we can step in. We'll take a moment in whatever forward fold we found. And then we'll do the movement of our choosing. So it could be halfway lift, we can lower, we could step, or even lightly hop back. Again, notice the movement you personally need here. So again, we did a lot of stretch here, so maybe we're doing something a little bit different. So again, those front of the hip muscles, those psoas muscles, they are what help us go from our up dog, up and back into down dog. Maybe they don't want to activate so much right now after being stretched so intensely. Make sure you're respecting what the muscles tell us. So again, whatever we need here, we'll try our best to breathe in. And we'll try our best to breathe out. And then perhaps we're ready for child's pose again. We can come back, maybe back and down. And we'll take a moment here. So maybe we were playing with Ujjayi breath throughout our practice. Maybe we forgot about it. Perfectly fine. Whatever category we found ourselves in. Maybe we can be curious about Ujjayi breath here. What happens in this pose if we play with that light constriction in the back of the throat and we take that breath in and breath out. Now, if we are ready, we'll make our way into whatever seated pose we would like to come into. So maybe it just feels good to come up, cross the shins, roll back. That's not for everyone, trust me on that one. If we are ready, we'll eventually extend the legs out. And maybe it just feels good to shake them out a little bit. Maybe we're moving the feet. Again, that's just getting the muscles moving after all that work. And we'll find our way into a bound angle pose. So again, the knees can bend. Bring the feet together. If we need support, this is a great time to put support under the knees, whether it's underneath the thighs like door jambs, or maybe the blocks are right underneath the knees, make that your own. And if we don't have blocks, pillows, blankets, whatever we need. Now again, we have our 3 choices. We might opt to be upright in this pose. We might opt to walk back and press through the belly and find a back bend. Or we might opt to lean forward. Now I invite you to do whichever version you would like. And once you're there, we're going to give this 5 deep breaths. one last breath in. And breath out. Now if we're ready, we can come back up. Let our knees come up, let our legs straighten out, maybe a little shake out, maybe move the feet. So we're going to find the forward fold of our choosing, and that might involve readjusting the hips. Maybe the knees are bent, maybe we bend the knees, maybe we straighten them out. Make that your own time. Likewise, any props, make that time your own. Now we're going to find length through the body. Again, we can always be here or even do an elevated fish with the hands behind us. We always have those options. If it feels good, we can tilt forward. Now again, we can make this our own. If we have yoga blocks, maybe today's one of those days where resting the forearms on the block, or stacking the blocks, resting our forehead on that. If we want to have a pillow on our legs, and maybe we're on the pillow, we can. Now, if we're someone who tends to reach past the toes, we can always take something like a block or a very thick book, place it on the soles of our feet, and hold on to that instead. Again, that's only if this is part of our practice. If we find our hands are on our shins, please do not judge yourself that you're not going further forward. Make this time your own, no judgments. Again, can we check in with the body and not judge ourselves for it? We're just going to give this a couple more breaths. Now, can we come back to Ujjayi breath here? That victorious breath. That slight constriction in the back of the throat. That inhale. That exhale. And can this get 5 more breaths? And maybe one last breath in. And breath out. But if we're ready, we'll come back up. Kind of shake things out if we need to shake it out. We'll bring ourselves back down onto our mats. So again, however we want to get there. And we'll just slowly bring ourselves down. Now today might be a day that it just feels good to hug the knees side to side, maybe a little rocking side to side. Now if we'd like, we're going to come into a little bit of a bridge flow. Now we can do whatever we need here. Today might be a day that we plant our feet down and we let our hands rest by our sides. Now we might even think about our hands or our arms lightly gluing towards the rib cage area. That'll make sense in a moment. We'll try our best to think pressing the feet down into the mat. We'll lift our hips up, and as we do so, can those arms lift in conjunction with the ribs as if they are glued to the sides. And then maybe we found that they drew a parallel line with our hips. And then as mindfully as we can, we'll come down. So we might do this 3 more times. So as we inhale, we come up. Maybe we make that line. On the exhale, we'll come down. On the inhale, we'll come up. On the exhale, down. On the inhale, one more time. On the exhale, back down. We can relax, we can readjust, we can do whatever it is we need. We can move the knees. And if it works for us, we're going to come into the twist of our choosing towards the right. Again, that's any twist we personally need here. So again, make that time your own, whatever you need. We'll give this 3 more breaths. we're ready, we'll come back to center. We'll find that twist in the opposite direction. So again, make that time your own. Any kind of twist here. If we need to adjust or readjust, we can. And we give this one more full breath in. Full breath out. Now if we're ready, we'll come back to center. Now we're welcome to hug the knees, we're welcome to rock. And we'll come into the inversion of our choosing. So mindful that we were already in an inversion with our bridge pose. Maybe we like to do legs up the wall where the legs start to extend towards the ceiling. Now, if we are near a couch, an edge of the bed, or a wall, we can also do this with a prop. So what we might do is we might either get to that wall, get to the edge of a couch, whatever we need, something we can essentially throw our legs up on. Now what we might do is we might start with our bodies to the side. We start to lean forward onto our elbows. We might do a little extra readjust here. We'll let one leg come up, opposite leg comes up, we lower down. And if you're like me, you might need to do a little scooching towards the wall. So again, it doesn't have to be a wall. We might find that we'd want to do this on the edge of a bed, an edge of a couch where the knees are bent and more or less the calf muscles can rest against the bed or the couch cushion. And we might even find we stay here if we would like to do this particular pose for our Shavasana. We have come to that last minute or so of our practice, which means we can do whatever it is that we personally need. So again, Shavasana, at least in these recorded classes, is relatively short, and that might affect what kind of Shavasana we're eventually coming into. For some people, legs up the wall or legs up the couch feels really good, especially if they know they're only going to be in it for 4 or 5 minutes. Maybe we find we want to do something else, and as always, we might need a longer Shavasana. If that is the case, please pause the video, set a timer on your phone, and have the Shavasana you need. So again, whatever we personally need here, I'm going to play my singing bowls, let them fade into silence, and what we do between now and then is entirely within our power. Start with our breath in and that breath out. Now we can return movement as movement feels right. Maybe we're stretching out through our fingers and toes. Maybe it just feels good to deepen that breath and just lay here for a few more moments. Again, we want to make sure that our time after Shavasana is uniquely our own. And the only thing I suggest is if we feel this desire to pop out of Shavasana, can we delay that for even a breath? Notice that temptation, but give it a full inhale. That full exhale. And if it's possible, trying our best to let that movement slowly build up. Maybe we've bent the knees and we're windshield wipering them, maybe not. We'll build up enough movement that maybe we'd like to roll towards one side or simply mindfully come up through the middle. Either way, we'll all meet in our easy seat. And once we are there, we'll let our hands come together at the heart and we'll pause for a moment. We'll seal in our practice with a moment of gratitude. And with that, maybe we just thank ourselves for taking this time to do our yoga practice, even if it's challenging right now, even if it's difficult. Just thanking ourselves. And then whatever meaning of Namaste resonates today, and perhaps today it is the good within me recognizes and honors the good within you. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your practice. Namaste.